My name is Nathan Denny's and I'm the Associate Director of the Baltimore Architecture Foundation. This presentation is part of Doors Open Baltimore, which is presented by the Baltimore Architecture Foundation. First, thank you to our sponsors, grantors and in-kind supporters who have made Doors Open Baltimore happen this year, and to all of you who have contributed to be with us. It's through your support that we're able to host Doors Open every year, especially this year, where we've had a program nearly every day this month, and still more to come into the last week of October. This program is part of our Design Excellence Week, where we're showcasing fantastic projects by local design firms. And also, I want to give a shout out to our Instagram photo contest. It's still going strong. If you want to participate, you can take a picture of a building around your neighborhood. The theme is architecture around your neighborhood. So we'd love to see buildings around where you live. And all you have to do is just upload them to Instagram and use the hashtag DoorsOpenBaltimore to participate. The contest ends on October 31st. And now today's presentation, we are joined by Peng Gu, president of the landscape architecture firm Mayhan Reichel, who together with the architecture firm Gensler designed Eager Park. It's such an interesting project, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Peng to get started here. And if you have any questions, please add them to the Zoom chat box. We will get to as many as we can at the end of the presentation. With that, take it away.
All right, thanks, Nathan, and thanks everybody for coming here. And I'm Peng Gu from Mayhan Reichel Associates. I have the privilege to design Eager Park with our team and Gensler team, as Nathan mentioned. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with everybody, and then I won't call this a presentation. I want this to be like a chat. Just sit back and relax, and then I can walk you through like a little bit of the design process, some of our partners, and take a visual tour of the park if you would. So we're all from Baltimore. This is Eager Park. Just a little bit of background information. This is what you'll see here today. The park is a 3-city block park located in the center of East Baltimore. It's actually, if you're familiar with it, the center green piece that you see here is the boundary of our park. It's bounded by Ashland Avenue right here. There's Chase Street over here to the north side. Broadway Street is right here. So just the location of the park is about 5.5 acres. And then if you're looking at the surrounding, what happens around the park, you can see, as we all know, this is Johns Hopkins campus, mostly to the south side of it. And then we have our neighborhood block, a lot of residential area and new development up here in the north. So our park is the heart of that development, as you can see here. And it's also a transition point that carries the fabric of the city from more urban setting, more research, more Hopkins, into more urbanhood setting, smaller scale, green and fun. So the next slide, zoom in a little bit into the park and then sort of just highlight the context of the park in a more clear way. And then now north is over on this side. So again, it's a 3-city block park with Wolf Street to the east and Doham Street, which actually now become a pedestrian promenade to the west side of the park. So one thing that's really striking about this park design, at least for my career, is that as the designers, for day one, we didn't just go in and design the park. We took almost a year, like 10 months of what we call a visioning and listening process. So that means we step in just as listeners. We really work with the community members, with the neighborhood, with the kids from the schools, with the students, the professors from Johns Hopkins University to hear what they're envisioning and what they want to see and what kind of program they need for their park. And this is extremely helpful. And this is extremely fruitful for creating that relationship to the neighborhood and understanding them. So there's all the pictures that you can see here. We ask the people whose long-term residents that used to live in the neighborhood. We ask the moms with little kids. We ask like the elementary school students to draw what they want to see in the park. So that has been a very successful process. And then during this process, we work with all the different partners and community, come up with this vision statement. It's like the North Star where we want to go with the park. So at the end of the process, what we come up with is that we want to create this diverse, educational, authentic, fun, and healthy place for people to be able to go and relax, to relate to each other, to be proud of their neighborhood and history, and to be able to spend time with the people they know in their own neighborhood. We also know that there's some things we have to do to take us to that mission statement. So for example, what it means to create a diverse like community engagement. So we understand it's not just to hold a couple community meetings and then we'll go back to our design. We understand that like from the day one, from the beginning, we need to get the neighborhood engaged. We need to make people feel like this is their park. They own it, they maintain it. This is a happy place where they want to go after dinner or any day, like in a beautiful day, like a full day like this. And we also understand to make this park really authentic, we need to celebrate that legacy of East Baltimore. And then what is the legacy? That takes a lot to listen to the stories, to do our own research, to feel that pride as one of the Baltimore residents ourselves. We want to promote the health and well-being of people that lives in this neighborhood and all across the city. So that means either like physically, we create like the fitness stations, the walking loops, and also mentally, like especially in a day like this, just to be able to sit there and enjoy the screen and nature and the kids and neighbor and the music and food is something that every of us wants to do and every of us need. And we also understand that this park needs to be playful and fun. It's a neighborhood park. And we're not working in to create, say, a European or New York design. This belongs to Baltimore and this belongs to us. And we want it to make fun for everybody that's using it, that's live around it. Of course, there's the retreat and relaxation part of the park, which with all these intense things going on around our life, especially in the middle of the pandemic, like right now, we want to be able to be close to nature, to have that peace as we get into the park. So our goal after all these meetings was the dream of the neighborhood and the residents was to bring back what made Baltimore a safe, clean, and respected city. And the goal was to embody the unique character, the legacy and the heart and soul of this neighborhood. And then diving in to see what does that mean, like what those words means. It means simple and honest charm. It means the proud of the hardworking lovers of life. It means music and family and togetherness. So right there, we see we don't need fancy design languages. We don't need fancy designers. We don't need to make the top storyline. What we need is to touch the day-to-day life and to touch the heart of everybody that lives around this park. And then as a designer, our task is how to transform all these things into a simple, honest, charming, elegant, day-to-day design that really functions. And then keeping that in mind, we're working with the people and the residents and the neighborhood to come up with all this programming element. And I'm very proud to say that we were able to achieve all of this in our park 3-4 years after it's constructed. And we also know through talking to the neighborhood that something really great about this neighborhood is about how it's bridging things together, how it's bridging the community with the Johns Hopkins University, and how it's bridging like the past with the future, and how it's bridging this urban setting with a more residential neighborhood setting. And through our research, we also know we take the inspiration from this respectful lady, and her name is Henrika Lex, where she went to Hopkins and the labs, the Hopkins University and the labs across the world, like using her cell to study the treatment of the cancer. So this idea of the DNA that used to be in the blood of the neighborhood, the idea of bridging and connecting is the overarching theme of our design, whether it's physically or like spiritually. So you will see that being expressed through our design languages and every detail that we're trying to work into our design. So of course, with all that being in mind, we did our due diligence. We look at the site. What does the site has to offer us? As I already talked about, this is the south part of the site. We have 3 blocks. It's a transforming from the more urban city block into a more like flexible sports activity block into a more neighborhood block. And then we also know on the east side of the site is our major urban thoroughfare. That means a lot of people traveling along that road, both pedestrian and cars. The edge needs to be very welcoming, very transparent. While on the west side, we have this pedestrian promenade, which means there's no car traffic along that edge. It needs to be lush and green. It needs to be relaxed. There needs to be buffers. There needs to be rich planting materials along that side. And then we also know by looking at the contours, we have the high point of the site here and the high point site here with a low point here. So we know that naturally the water flows from this corner of the block into this low spot, also flows from this high spot into that low spot. So if we have to showcase some stormwater treatment strategies, this middle block is a fantastic place to do it. And then what the topo also tell us is that we have to deal with like a steep slope about 14 feet that from this point to this point. So how to take advantage of that slope that going down is something else that we want to keep in mind as we're designing this park. So also what the site tell us is about like where the pedestrian come from. As you can see, all the corners of the blocks are the major pedestrian landing point to our park. And then our goal is to connecting those points through those pathways, like cross those different blocks I was talking about. And then this diagram is just showing how we loop into that fitness component that we're talking about at the beginning. We want this park to be a showcase of the wellness and well-being. And we designed all these different loops and different routes, and people can run or walk around the park to achieve their health and well-being and fitness goals. And of course, I'll show you in the later slides, there's fitness stations that was built into the park that again as a highlight along that route. So here you see is the design of the park. Again, this is the hotel, this is our southern block. Just a brief overview. What we have here is, this is more our urban setting. We have an interactive fountain piece right in the street front of Ashland Avenue. We have this overlook area that you can see here, which is 14 feet, almost 1.5 stories above this level, that create a fantastic view looking to the north. We have a coffee shop here currently existing, that this is a perfect outdoor seating area. Again, especially in this climate, for people to sit outside and enjoy the views and the time of relaxing and to connect with each other. And then moving north, we have a series of amphitheater like steps that going down, taking care of that 14 feet grading change from the southern block into like the middle of the southern middle block. And here we have the signature pavilion structure here. Again, that's taking the clue. I'll show you the design of the bridging and the DNA concept, which I showed in the previous slide, that become the core of the park and the place for a lot of programming element like outdoor movies, music event to happen right along the spot. And then moving across the street, we're coming to the middle block, and this is supposed to be our flexible block. So on the west side, where you see here is where the stormwater management happens. As I said, this is a low spot of our park, so water naturally flows here from both sides. So we take advantage of that and make that a beautiful, relaxed space with educational opportunities to showcase how we can treat the rainwater right on the site. And then again, moving further north, we have some sitting areas. And then we're able to engage like a community garden right here when you get across Beadle Street. And then at the very north side of our park, we work with Kaboom, which is a non-profit organization, and to build a fun playground together with the community. So that's basically the structure of the park. Now I'm going to take you to some real built pictures so you can see what every component looks like and how people interact with it. So again, this is the park that I built on today. And first, I'm going to talk about the southern block. Like I said, there's an open lawn area. There's an interactive fountain with 16 jets. There's nice trees and seating area along both sides of the plaza. And then this is the overlook area that I was talking about right outside this R&D building and the coffee shop, like right here. Again, looking back, so first I'm going to take you to this area. So this is a fountain. And I want to say this is probably one of the most simplest fountain I've done in my career. And then just going there on a hot summer day and see how the kids interacting with it, that little bit of activation, the fun of water, the enjoyment, the relaxation of parents and grandparents sitting on the side is such a pleasure to see how the landscape design of certain features can bring the neighborhood and bring people together. So right down here, the pavilion that I was talking about at the end of the block. And this, we're getting in the park. The coffee shop is right here. We're looking down at Ashland Avenue. When we designed the park, we want this park to have life to it. So there's food trucks that happens around the park. There's like shade structures in the overlook area. There's picnic tables in that overlook area that you can go enjoy lunch, enjoy your views. That has been working really successfully as an urban civic space. And then again, this is on the east side. So the fountain we saw was just here. This is on the east side of it. And then you can see the seating elements where you can sit and watch your kids play. And then you can enjoy the view down into this big green open space towards the north side. And then moving down a little bit, we were just here, and moving down a little bit, looking at the steps, which we call the amphitheater, and also take a peek at what happens underneath the pavilion. And some of this planting area, the stormwater management area that was talking about in the previous slide. So this is our pavilion. Gensler designed the pavilion. This did a wonderful job of provide that functional needs for any program element that we need to accommodate. And also you can see the gesture of the pavilion. It feels very lofty. It takes like the concept of the bridging and togetherness and lofty together and being this iconic piece and focal points of our park. So again, now we're standing underneath the pavilion, looking back at the fountain. This is exactly what the community want, right? At day one, they want to be able to hold yoga classes here, dance classes here, music movie night. It's such a pleasure to see those things happening and more happening and coming to our park. So this is one of the outdoor musical event that was held. And you can see the lighting and the structure and the cover and how people just be themselves, enjoy themselves in that park. And then here we're standing, this was the overlook area where people have picnic tables and here. And then there's a big staircase, like the pavilion is over here. And the amphitheater that we saw is over here. In this slide, I want to talk about like all the details, how our details embodies those honest charm of East Baltimore. There's no fancy details. The material are very original and very robust. There's a lot of concrete. There's a lot of big scale things that showcase the honesty, straightforwardness of the character of this neighborhood. And then this is the bioretention area that I was talking about before. Again, you can see a glimpse of the amphitheater right here. Our pavilion is right here. One of the things I want to point out is that we did put few birdhouses in the Eager Park just to add a little flavor to it and bring more kids to the park and make this like a beautiful sighting for them as well, a fun place. And then just seeing that green and that grass and how kids play around it and how family go there just to meet the neighbors and chat. It's such a pleasure for us to see that happening, to see this park continues to be a draw, not only for the neighborhood, but for the East Baltimore across the city. And then we do work some details. Again, this is the steps that we're seeing. We have codes on the surface of the walls of those amphitheaters that steps up. And all we want to say, those are codes from the steel workers, from the doctors, from the nurses, from the Nana. The simple message we want to see here is together, we're all East Baltimore. And then moving, so we were at the first south block and now we're moving to the middle block. So again, what we have here is a large planting that I was talking about along the wide side of the park, along with very wide, decent concrete walk for like fitness and running, and then occasionally the seating areas. And you can see a little bit of access equipment right here, which happens in multiple places across this park. I want to mention as a landscape architect, we did use a very native planting palette throughout the park design. So low maintenance, everything common that you see in our area, very low maintenance, great opportunity for kids to know the plantings that serve as well in our Maryland area. So again, more planting, bird trees, native grasses, great to look at, especially in this time of the year. Different textures. And here are the fitness equipment that we're able to put in different fitness stations, three blocks along the way of the fitness loop that I showed in the plan diagram. And now we're moving on to the northern part of the park. We work with a nonprofit organization and their name is Kamboon. For those of you who's not familiar with them, they're working with designers and neighborhood to build playground in a day or two. So they held a few like community meetings, listen to the kids, listen to the parents, listen to the designers, like what we all need. And then they organized this community building event day where all the members from the neighborhood come in and build the playground together. It's quite a heart-touching process. We were there in the opening and contributing to building this playground. And then this is the playground you see. Again, there's nothing fancy, but the cleanness, the funness, and the playfulness, the ownership of that playground is something that really touches people's heart and bring people together. And this is the community garden that right to the west of that playground. I have to say this is one of the best maintained community garden that I have designed in my career. It's just that pride, that engagement, the investment, that how people feel like this is their park, that really has the power, bring people together and making us the designers feels like really part of it. So this, we're approaching the last slide. This is a highlight, Eager Park is a highlight of the projects in our office. And we want to carry the Eager Park spirit across the city. So currently we're working on multiple like parks and green spaces and civic spaces around the city. Some of them you may or may not know. There's Resch Field right to the south of the harbor, which is under construction. It has a playground equipment. It has a green theme that we can see in Eager Park. We're also working on Harbor Point, Sandlot, Pierce Park has been done. So how we as designers to work with the neighborhood and contribute to make the Baltimore greener and healthier and more together. That's one of the things we want to keep doing and very committed to. So with that, I want to thank you everybody who's coming here and taking the tour. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. This was a great presentation. And I think one of the big takeaways here while we're in the middle of this pandemic is how important this having access to space, open space like this is. It's like a place we could actually go and spend time while also being socially distant and safe. And I wanted to see if you've seen how the park is being used right now during the pandemic.
I actually went to Google this Eager Park this morning, and then there's Friends of Eager Park. There's a Facebook. If you Google Eager Park, it has a list of activities there. Actually, I think there's one on October the 27th. There's another one on October the 30th. There's music event. There's outdoor movie night, and there's food truck that coming to the park. There's farmers market. So, and all the people say this is so much green. I can be so much relaxed. This is safe and clean and well kept. This is exactly what we have in the vision statement. So just to see all that is happening right now in Eager Park, this is really very fulfilled as a designer. And I'm seeing the event and activities happening every day.
Great. And I have a question here about the community garden. How does the community garden work? How do community members gain access to those plots?
I have the information back when we designed the park. I need to check back how they're being used right now. Back then, there was community gardens in a senior living facility a couple blocks away from our park, and that facility member has a high interest to take use of some of the community park into the Eager Park. That's what we designed for. And I think as the park getting constructed, the facility is still taking care of some of the plots. And I need to check back in to see if there's other facilities and neighborhood stakeholders that has adopted the plot of that community garden.
Great. And I'm not seeing any more questions. Oh, here's a question. Says it's great to create open space. Do you know the percentage of the 5.5 acres that is hardscape and the percentage that is soft?
I have to look at this and do my best estimate. So as here you can see, without have to do my guess, you can see the green area, hard versus soft. So I say the hard space is primarily along the perimeter, like the 2 perimeters of the park and a little bit of the access. And if I have to estimate, I would say 20% of the park would be the hardscape, while 75 to 80% is softscape.
Great. And I have a question for you. I being someone who started gardening this year, I recently tore out my sad crabgrass lawn and replaced it with a native garden. I'm seeing all these bees and birds coming into my yard just out of nowhere. All of a sudden, you have this fantastic habitat. And I was wondering, what sort of wildlife do you see in this area now that you've created these habitable spaces?
Well, we definitely we do been to the park like every now and then. So there's definitely the birds. Like you see the birdhouse there. The bird definitely goes there. We have a lot of native plantings that use as like attracting pollinators. So the bees, which is diminishing a population like right now, we see them over here, and different kinds of butterflies that you can see accumulating like on the west area of the park. And I'm definitely expecting to see more and check with our neighbors to see what they see, as we're not there day to day. They probably see way more than we did.
Great. And a follow-up question to the hardscape is, could your budget support use of permeable concrete to further manage rainwater? And I guess you could also, to elaborate on this, what sort of design elements did you use for stormwater management on the site?
Well, the big stormwater management on the site is the component that I was talking about. So all the stormwater, they flow down, they get into the stormwater management area. If you pay attention to the picture, those are actually like a shallow depression area. So the water flow in to that ditch and sitting there. So that controls the quantity of water that flows to our infrastructure down ground. It also helps to enhance the quality of water because the water gets filtered through that system. And then to answer that pervious concrete question, we didn't use pervious concrete, especially for this park, but we do use them more and more other projects because that can really reduce runoff. The water like hit the concrete surface, get down right there. There's a thick 18 inches, 12 to 18 inches gravel right underneath that concrete that can serve as a reservoir that holds water. But there's certain maintenance issues that associate with it because the concrete is pervious. So you have to make sure the opening in the concrete stays open. So with vacuuming and cleaning, we can make that work, but we also see there's some, if you don't do the maintenance right, there could be a problem. But definitely we're using more and more of those types of features in more and more of our projects.
Great. I think that wraps it up for questions. We do have a really nice comment here from Molly, who says that she lives next to the park and goes multiple times a day, and it's really wonderful. She just wanted to say thank you for the great work you've done to design such a great space.
Thank you, Molly, and it's our pleasure. And I hope the park keep being the center and keep attracting more development into our area and building a stronger, greener neighborhood for all of us.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on this Saturday afternoon. And there's still plenty of Doors Open programs going on through the rest of the month. So please take a look at www.doorsopenbaltimore.org for more information. And thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.